You done huffing? Good morning, Reptilians. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. I'm Elle, and this is Elle's Reptiles. Make sure that you are subscribed because big videos are coming soon. We have the outside of my reptile room built. Look at this little sneak peek. There are so many reptile room videos coming very soon, and I'm so excited about it, so make sure you have that bell turned on. This week, we're doing a video that you guys always seem to love when I do these kinds of videos, and that is a body language video. We haven't done one of these in quite a while. So this week, we're going to talk about blue-tongued skink body language. Just a quick disclaimer, just because some of these things are listed doesn't mean necessarily that your blue-tongued skink is going to do this. These videos are always just from my personal experience and from things that people have told me about their blue-tongued skinks or things that I've observed with other people's blue-tongued skinks. I'm not an expert. I just love animals and like to make videos. Before we get started, this video is sponsored by the Doobie Doo, so make sure to stay until the end of the video to find out how you can save 10% off of your entire order at thedoobie-doo.com. Let's get started. The first one is the most common one that all of the blue-tongued skinks tend to do, and that's just laying out all day basking. Laying out all day could potentially mean that the temperatures are a little bit low in that basking area, so be sure to check on that with a temperature gun. But if the temperature's right, then that's just them being a happy blue-tongued skink. They are diurnal animals, which means that in the wild, in the daytime, they lay out and they get the heat from the sun. So this is a completely normal, natural behavior. Do I hear Morty? Does he want to come out? Let's see if he wants. Who better to talk about blue-tongued skinks than a blue-tongued skink? Nope, not doing that. That behavior means that he doesn't want to be held anymore. You don't want to be out. That's fine. Can you be out for one thing? Just one. Okay. Next up, we have glass surfing. Glass surfing, just like with most other reptiles, is just their way of wanting to get your attention. In Morty's case, this is when he has splashed around his water dish and has emptied it out and he wants water, or he wants food, or he wants to get out of that tank. This also could mean that you don't have sufficient digging space in your tank. Blue-tongued skinks love to dig, they love to burrow, and if you don't have a place for them to dig and burrow, they might glass surf. So if that's the case, put some loose substrate in that tank. Blue-tongued skinks love loose substrate. And that leads us to digging and burrowing. This is another completely normal behavior. Blue-tongued skinks will usually spend a good amount of time digging and burrowing or just being under the soil. It could just be that it's very warm in that tank. Again, check the temperatures, make sure that they're okay, but this is a completely normal and natural thing for them to do instead of like a lot of reptiles where they'll go kind of back and forth between the hot side and the cool side. Morty will go back and forth between basking and burrowing, even though he has a 6-foot tank, so there is plenty of a cool side. That's kind of how he will regulate his body temperature. A lot of blue-tongued skinks will also sleep underground, so if your blue-tongued skink is going underground at nighttime, again, completely normal. Next up, we have something that I did not know until I very first got my blue-tongued skink, because this behavior is not normal in other reptiles. That is sneezing. It is very normal for blue-tongued skinks to sneeze, and to sneeze a lot. In other reptiles, usually that means that they have a respiratory infection, but in blue-tongued skinks, sneezing is something that they do to actually clear out their nose. So you'll notice that they'll burrow under the substrate and sneeze, and burrow under the substrate and sneeze, and sometimes they'll sneeze while they're under the substrate. This is completely normal. Morty did this a lot more as a baby than he does as an adult, but if you do notice that your blue-tongued skink is sneezing a lot, then you probably need to either switch to a less dusty substrate. So if you're using something like dry cocoa fiber that is a very dusty substrate, you might want to consider switching to something else. Or if you have a species of blue-tongued skink that likes humidity, consider just raising the humidity. Making sure that that substrate is staying slightly wet is going to ensure that it's not as dusty. But yeah, this is completely normal, and a lot of times it does not necessarily mean that your blue-tongued skink has a respiratory infection. Sometimes they can have respiratory infection, so if that is accompanied by a lot of mucus coming out of the nose, coming out of the mouth, or by them keeping their mouths open, that can be a respiratory infection. But just normally sneezing a lot, it's just something that they do. Next up, kind of like sneezing, let's talk about huffing. Huffing is almost like a snake hisses, where they'll pull in a lot of air and then just huff it out. kind of the same way that a snake does. Usually this just means that they are not happy. So if they want to get away from you, they are maybe trying to push their body under, I don't know, a log that they're having a hard time getting under. This is just usually something they do when they are not happy. So if you're handling your blue-tongued skink and they are huffing at you a lot, you should probably just put them back because they would like to go. On that same note of them not being happy in a situation, lunging at you. Unlike something like a bearded dragon, who most of the time they are nice, friendly creatures, or a leopard gecko, nice, friendly creatures, blue-tongued skinks sometimes have an attitude. This is especially true for the Indonesian, Irian giant, Halmahera. All of those kinds of blue-tongued skinks tend to be a little more attitude prone than something like a northern blue-tongued skink that has been bred in captivity for years upon years upon years. Sometimes your blue-tongued skink is going to be unhappy that your hand is around them and they're going to lunge at you. Again, if this happens, it's probably in your best interest to remove your hand from around their face. Simple as that. Them lunging at you is them trying to bite you because they are not happy with whatever situation they are currently in. If you notice that your blue-tongued skink has gone a grayish hue and then all of a sudden they go back to their normal colors, they are about to shed. Again, this is very similar to the way that you tell that a snake is about to shed. This isn't necessarily body language. I guess it is. It's something that their body is telling you, so I guess it's body language. But I thought this was very important to put in there. So if your blue-tongued skink is about to shed, they're going to dull out or even have a gray tinge. They'll stay that way for a few days and then they'll go back to just their normal color. They'll look just like they were before and you'll even question whether or not they shed and you just missed it. And then usually a day or so after that, they are going to shed. But unlike a snake, this is not going to be one big piece of shed. They're going to shed in pieces. Make sure that when your blue-tongued skink does shed that you check to make sure all of their toes shed. They have very small toes and the circulation can get cut off if it is restricted. And if they are having a hard time shedding, you might want to boost their humidity. But that color change is a very good indicator that your blue-tongued skink is about to shed. Another wonderful indicator that your blue-tongued skink is about to shed is that they start rubbing their body on everything. This will usually happen even before that shedded skin starts to come off. You'll notice them going around their tank and rubbing their face and their body on all of the things in that tank. That is one of the reasons that it is very important to have enrichment items in that tank. It is super important that some of those enrichment items are kind of rough, so like rocks or driftwood, rough hides, anything like that to help them get that shed off. Once they start rubbing their bodies on everything, if they are a humidity-loving blue-tongued skink species, then it could be helpful to gently spray them. That's what I do for Morty. They might not like it, but giving them a gentle spray down could help in this process. Next up is eating the food bowl. This is not really an indicator of anything, but it's something that comes up often, and it's something that people observe about their blue-tongued skinks often. I thought that I should just throw it into this body language. If you feed your blue-tongued skink and you notice that they are kind of chewing on the food bowl, this is normal. I don't know why they do this. They're just trying to eat their food and they will attack that food bowl. It just kind of happens. Make sure that you are using sturdy food dishes for your blue-tongued skink, so we don't want to use any fragile items or anything that they could just chew through, obviously. This is a completely normal thing. It's a lot more concerning for you than it is for them. I've noticed that this happens a lot more if I'm feeding things like raw egg to my blue-tongued skink, just because it's a liquidy substance that kind of spills over and he's just trying to eat. So just make sure that they don't injure themselves. And the last one I found out the hard way. If you're watching your blue-tongued skink and maybe they're on your floor or on your bed or you have them and you notice that they kind of slow down and their tails kind of kink up, they're about to go poop. I found this out when Morty was a little baby because I had him on my bed, and I think that there's vlog footage of me not knowing that he was about to poop. If so, it will go here. Well,
are you serious?
Yeah, he pooped all over my bed, and now I know this is a body language that signals to you that if they are on something that you like, you should probably move them. But that is all that I have for this week's video. Hopefully this was a super short and quick video. Obviously there are a lot more body language things that could happen that your blue-tongued skink could communicate with you. This was just a very quick list. But any super cool body language things that you have noticed with your blue-tongued skink, please leave down in the comments below because I am super curious. As I said at the beginning of this video is sponsored by The Doobia Dude. The Doobia Dude is a wonderful place to get dubia roaches for your animals, including blue-tongued skinks. The Dubia Dude is a small business, so you're helping to support small businesses when you order from them that breeds very healthy dubia roaches. These dubia roaches are fed all organically. They even ship in recycled or reused water bottles. Dubia roaches are awesome. They are my personal favorite feeder to feed to my animals because they are super nutritious, and I just really don't like crickets. Crickets are so gross, and these are a fantastic alternative that are much more filling than crickets as well. Make sure if you do order from the Dubia Dude, use the code Elle and you can save 10% off of your entire order. Thank you so much to the Dubia Dude for sponsoring this video. As always, if you have not already, please feel free to follow me on my other socials and like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications every single time I put out a new video, which is every Sunday and some Wednesdays. This week's Instagram shoutout is here, and this week's subscriber shoutout is here. Thank you both so much for liking and following and commenting and subscribing and sharing and all of those amazing things. You are amazing people. Thank you so much. You are the bee's knees. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye. Test. Okay. I'm just gonna be attacked by this plant the whole time. Okay. Whew, here we go. We're gonna be looking at at blue-tongued skink. Oh my eye. These contacts are awful. Okay. Actually, those should be two different things. Okay, we're gonna start that whole thing over. I'm so sorry. Tinge, and then they are they'll stay.